President of the Senate and the Senate for that show of support. There are two issues, Your Excellency, that have defied solution in the last 25 years. The first one is the creation of additional polling units. We have solved the problem. The second one is the issue of delimitation of constituencies. It hasn't been done in the last 25 years. And we thought, in the spirit with which we worked to solve the problem of the polling units, we can approach the National Assembly, the leadership of the Senate in particular, to see what we can do to address the problem. So the background is the issue of electoral constituencies. Nothing has been done since 1996. Is the same delimitation done by NECON. Previous efforts have been unsuccessful. There were several resolutions passed by the National Assembly. They have not resolved the issues. And there are many court judgments in respect of state constituencies in particular that have not solved the problem. In fact, some of them have created more problems than they were intended to solve. I want to say, Your Excellency, that constitutionally speaking, the issue of delimitation of constituencies is a joint responsibility between INEC and the National Assembly. INEC cannot do it unilaterally, and the National Assembly cannot do it by resolution. So we are expected to work together to solve this problem, and I believe that if we work together, we can solve this problem. It is legally, politically, and practically complex. It's really very complex creation of constituencies. And this may explain why it hasn't been done in the last 25 years. There are three issues involved, Your Excellency. The first one is division of the country into constituencies. And this INEC has done in line with the provisions of the Constitution since 1996. The Constitution says that INEC shall divide the states of the Federation into 3 senatorial districts. It has been done. Each state has 3 senatorial districts, and the FCT has 1, making a total of 109 senators. The same Constitution said that INEC shall divide the states of the Federation into 360 federal constituencies. That has been done by the Commission. Now, if there are issues, we have to go back then to the provisions of the Constitution because the numbers are fixed in the Constitution. We can't revise, we can't alter, we can't create, we can't reduce until the Constitution is amended. But Section 91 of the Constitution provides for the creation of state constituencies. It's problematic. It has a very complicated formula for the distribution of state constituencies. That each state of the Federation shall have 3 or 4 times the number of its federal constituencies, subject to a minimum of 24 and a maximum of 40. So some states have 3 times the number of constituencies. Some have more than 3 times the number of constituencies. Some have the minimum of 24. Others have exceeded the minimum of 24. And some have the maximum of 40. So if you go by the multiplication formula, there are states where you cannot even apply the term 3 formula, like Lagos and Kano, which
apparently there is nothing that can be done here without the National Assembly, even though we don't get any credit. So I will not wait for anyone to commend us. I'll commend members of the National Assembly for the complete support that we give INEC at all times and on all issues. The issue of delineation or creation of more electoral constituencies. It's like the previous one on the polling units. But unlike the polling units, this is going to be more difficult because you need more information, especially on the population. And because we didn't have census after 2006 exercise, now we have to find a way of getting information about our population size, because that is very, very important and significant in taking any decision in that respect. But I want to assure you and Nigerians that we will go all the way with you to finding solutions on getting the delineation of electoral constituencies done before the end of our tenure. It's not going to be easy, by no means. But we sit here as parliamentarians to deal with the issues of developing Nigeria and, of course, elections determine a lot of things in this country, and indeed in any country. This is one avenue, one way of giving Nigerians the opportunity to vote for their leaders. And we cannot joke with that. We are all products of elections. If the delineation of new constituencies, whether state or national, will give Nigerians better opportunities, enhance our democracy, and I'm sure it would, we must work hard to do that. So we will work with you in INEC. But I'm a little bit taken aback of the confusion between judgments in courts or of courts and what the Constitution provides. Don't the judges know what the Constitution says? Because you, out of respect for court verdicts, sometimes, like in the case of INEC 2, you decided you respect what the court ordered you to do, even if it is against what the Constitution provides for. So I'm sure this is one area we need to look at, and I'm happy the Deputy Senate President, Senator Balana, our Chairman, Air Force, and many members of the National Assembly are lawyers. Are we going to respect what the Constitution provides for, or discount the constitutional provision and respect what the courts would ask INEC to do? We have to settle that, even for the sake of protecting you and going extremely legal, so that we don't create difficulties going forward. But we must resolve this, because it is time, since 1996, when the current electoral districts and constituencies were created, there was no such exercise. I will not blame the former National Assembly sessions for not considering the requests from INEC, because this is really a difficult call to make. But we sit here with hope and determination to deal with these issues, no matter how difficult they will be. Even in the National Assembly, I'm sure when it is brought before the chambers, it will require a lot of horse trading, horse trading, and of course consultations, give and take. But that is what politics is about. And we have to be patriotic enough to look at the need and necessity for giving people who are maybe suppressed, to use your word, even though you said there is nothing like suppressed. Because if you have constituencies that are suppressed or that should have existed, but for one reason or the other are not there anymore, it means the environment is not the kind of ideal environment where the representation will be fair and equitable. So with this, I'm sure this is going to be a very interesting, interactive session. And I want to ask INEC if you are comfortable with the press to be here. We allow the press to be here. If you think there are things that you think only the senators here should know, then we'll excuse the press. But I want to assure Nigerians that the Senate and indeed the National Assembly will work with INEC assiduously to attend and address these issues so that if we are able to create the new constituencies, there will be elections in those constituencies with other areas that are already there by 2023. Thank you, and I pray that we are able to come up with something as quickly as possible. And by the way, I will ask a question, but that is if the press will go. But one of them is, you propose the principle of separation of powers. If we have a committee, a joint committee, that will eventually come up with something, still National Assembly has to approve of it. I was thinking INEC and any other organization would provide all the information that is necessary to the National Assembly, and our committee in the Senate, saddled with the responsibility of looking into the activities of INEC, will look at what you have done, and then we are advised, we can call you so that we have better briefing. But I am not too sure if we just push in senators into this exercise, and at the end of the day, the public will start picking on the senators and say, these are the people who cause problem in this, because you will be insulated. The people will not talk about you. They will talk about senators or members of the National Assembly on the committee. They say there is manipulation, there's this, and so much suspicion will just be brought in, and the entire exercise could be jeopardized. But this is something that we can discuss and debate and see how do we, whether it is committee or whatever it is, insulate members of the National Assembly from the preliminaries, that we do what is ours to look into what you are bringing to us, rather than all of us in the same room, and at the end of the day, if it goes well, you take the credit. If it doesn't, we take the blame. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency.